Welcome back to Sinister Sunday. If you're new here, this is the part of the week where we step into the darkest corners of true crimes, unsolved cases, disturbing minds, and the questions that still don't have answers.
In tonight's case, this one is different. This isn't just a murder. This is ego. This is control. This is a man who wanted attention more than anything else.
Before we go any further, we want to say that viewer discretion is advised. We will be discussing unaliving, violence, and disturbing themes. And if that's not something that you're in the headspace for tonight, we love you, and we'll see you next week.
But if you're ready,
Let's get sinister. So we're going to go back to December 20th, 1968. Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California.
cold night, isolated road, young couple parked.
Darren Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. They were just teenagers.
And this is what always hits me first. They weren't living risky lives. They weren't criminals. They were kids.
Exactly. And the randomness, that's terrifying. He walks up to the car, shoots David at close range, and Betty Lou tries to run. And then he shoots her multiple times in the back.
Which tells me this wasn't impulsive. That's control. That's hunting.
Do you think that he maybe planned that night specifically, or do you think he was just driving around looking for an opportunity?
Yeah, I think he was just looking for an opportunity. And when he got one, maybe it was a
Yeah,
second of impulsiveness, but
right.
after
Just
that,
saw a
it just
random
took over
car.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a young couple, vulnerable, isolated, and that pattern becomes important because on July 4th, 1969, in Blue Rock Springs Park,
Another couple, same setup.
he shoots both of them. Darlene Farron dies, and Michael McGough survives. But here's where everything changes. He
The
ends up
phone,
calling the police. The unaliver ends up calling the police.
that phone call gives me the chills every time I hear it.
Right. So you've got calm, monotone. He gives directions to the bodies, then he just casually says, I also killed those kids last year.
That's the moment he stops being just a murderer. That's the moment he becomes the Zodiac.
Right. He wanted recognition. So let me ask you this. Do you think that he would have kept unaliving if the media hadn't responded the way that they did?
I believe he wouldn't have. He wanted the attention. He wanted to be noticed.
Right. And if he didn't, he wouldn't have called the police and admitted to the one previous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like he wanted
He
people
wanted to
to
be
know.
claimed
He
for that, yeah.
Yes, yes. All right. So moving to August of 1969, three newspapers receive letters.
Each one with one third of a cipher.
He demands that they print it on the front page or he'll unalive again. Now that's bold.
That's narcissism.
Yeah. The cipher gets solved by a school teacher and his wife. It reads, I like killing people because it is so much fun.
And that line, it gets me every time because he describes humans like a game.
Right. And then he says that he's collecting slaves for the afterlife. So I want to pause there because what kind of mind creates that belief system?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just too deep into it. This is like a game.
Yeah, it's a game, and then he
It's a
says that
game.
I'm collecting slaves for the afterlife. Like he
Yeah.
can't be all there. Can't be all there.
He's loony.
Yeah. So the scariest part is that he's extremely intelligent. So September 27th, 1969, Lake Berryessa. This time, though, he changes up the game.
Straight hood.
I don't think we're talking about that kind of hood. I think we're talking about like the hood that goes on your head. Black executioner style hood. Crosshair symbol on the chest. That wasn't just about killing. That was theater.
That was branding.
He's dressing up for his part now. So he ties up Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. He stabs them this time. And then he calmly walks to their car, writes the dates of the murders on the door.
He wanted them to know it was him. So now he's kind of like leaving a signature.
Right. Do you think so with the hood and the symbol on his chest now, do you think that the costume, I'm going to call it a costume. Do you think that the costume was about hiding his identity or creating an identity?
Yeah, I think he was creating his identity. That
Yeah, it
was
didn't
him
much sound like
creating
he
it,
was
and then
hiding.
yeah, and then he was actually leaving his mark, showing that this is my
Yes.
identity, and I'm the one that had did the previous ones also.
Right. I agree. So now we're to October 11th, 1969 in San Francisco. Taxi driver Paul Stein. This time it's not a couple, but it's just a lone man.
This shows evolution.
So he shoots him in the head, and then he tears a piece of his shirt off and later mails that to the newspaper. Proof. Proof that he's the one that's doing this.
That's so chilling because now he's being calculated, and now he's sending it off for more recognition.
Right. He almost feels like they don't believe, that it's him, or he's not doing enough to prove that it's, yeah. So police almost catch him that night. The officers stopped a white male walking away, but dispatch describes the suspect as being black. So they let this white guy go.
Imagine being that close.
Whew, I'd be pissed. But yeah. So do you think he would have continued if they had caught him that night? Because as of right now, it doesn't seem like they have much to point it on anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he would have continued. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. So we're going to talk suspects. The biggest one that people know is Arthur Lee Allen.
The watch, the symbol, the suspicious behavior.
But DNA never confirmed him. And here's the thing. No one has ever been officially charged of any of these unalivings.
Which is wild considering how much evidence there was.
So let me ask you, do you think that Zodiac is one man, or do you think that there's a chance that it was more than one?
I think it was just one man. But changed up the style of the killing just to make it maybe more spontaneous, to feed the energy or the cravings he was at that time.
Right. I was gonna say because he started off with couples and shooting, and then he went to couples and stabbing, and then he went to a single back to the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing that would make me question if it were more than one. But all right, so we're gonna break him down psychologically. Attention seeking, narcissist, organized, and calculating.
Enjoyed fear more than murder.
Yes, he loved the power. He didn't just want the bodies, he wanted the headlines. He wanted people to know.
All right, so let me ask this now. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think he ever sat at home watching the news coverage, smiling, knowing that they were covering something he did, but he's free?
Probably. He was probably sitting there laughing at him because, like I said, it seemed like this was a game to him the entire time. You know, he's sending these ciphers and he's sending um, the torn piece of the shirt, and it just all seemed like a game to him. So yeah, he's probably sitting back laughing at everybody. I think he needed to feel bigger than society, if that makes sense. Um, so what makes this case different is that it is an unsolved case.
Meaning he won.
Or did he? Because decades later, we still say his name, and that might have been exactly what he wanted, but I don't know. With all the clues he left behind, it almost seems like he wanted to be caught in a way.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like that too. He probably wanted to be caught, but then again, didn't. I don't know. Maybe a little bit mixed signals here.
Mm-hmm. So we've covered the murders, but this is where it shifts from, homicide to terrorism. Okay.
Yeah, because once he starts threatening school buses, that's psychologically warfare.
Right. So we're to November 1969 on the timeline. He mails a letter claiming that he is going to blow up a school bus and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. That wording is terrifying.
Exactly. It's sadist. I can't even talk. It's theoretical. It's designed to panic parents.
Right. And he even includes, a diagram of the what he's going to use. So do you think that he actually had the capability to build one?
Probably not, but he just wanted to be on that level. Maybe he did. Maybe he was evolving.
Maybe. I don't know. He seems really smart. And I don't know. I mean, I was going to say internet, but back in the 60s, they didn't have all that. So never mind on that. But so that's what makes him so terrifying, though, is you never knew what was real and what was, his ego.
Exactly. And
So,
that's why we may think it's the escalation for attention.
right. I feel like he felt he wasn't getting enough of that attention. So he was changing things up constantly. You know what I mean? To keep people on track with him.
Yeah, exactly.
So he then sends what's called the little list letter, and this one feels unhinged.
This is where he starts mocking people now.
Mm-hmm. So he references a musical. He talks about people that he would like to unalive, and it almost feels like he's bored.
Like the murderers wasn't enough for him.
Right. So do you think that he escalated in the letters because he couldn't escalate in real life? Was there something that was stopping him from doing any more unaliving at this time that he's, like we
Yeah, I
said,
feel like maybe
evolving
he wanted
or
to do it.
doing different things?
Yeah, he probably wanted to do it, but he just didn't take that next step.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about the 340 cipher. Unsolved for 51 years.
And then in 2020, a team cracks it.
Right. And then what does it say? No, I am not afraid of the gas chamber. You know, it's like he's taunting. He even decades later.
Which tells me something. He expected to get caught eventually.
Or he wanted the legend to live longer than him. What do you think? You know, was he trying to become immortal? Was he trying to stick around as long as he could?
How many people are you?
Exactly. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. But
No, you're good. All right, so we're going to talk about Arthur Lee Allen.
the man most people didn't think did it. Did think did it.
Yes. So he owned a ZODIAC brand watch with the crosshair symbol. He was in Vallejo. He had disturbing behavior patterns, but the fingerprints didn't match and the DNA didn't match.
So was he a real herring, or did he just get lucky?
And this kind of brings me back to, you know, earlier when we mentioned if there was more than one person and the red herring part. Like, yeah, I wonder if they had crossed paths. You know, was it really him, or did the Zodiac killer cross paths with him and think, okay, well, this is somebody who I can pin it on? You know what I mean? Like, if Alan wasn't Zodiac, how did so many coincidences line up? So here's the part that messes with me the most. The confirmed murders stopped in 1969. And then the letters taper off by the mid 70s. And then we have complete silence.
Serial killers just don't retire.
Right. So what happened? Like, did he die? Is he in prison for something else? Did he move to a different state, change methods? You know, was he satisfied with what he had already done?
Exactly. And now, do you think there were unsolved mysteries or murderers out there that could be his?
Probably. Maybe. You would think that they would know, though, because it wasn't, I feel like it wasn't a huge gap in time. It started in 68, went to 69. I mean, there were several of them within there, but you would think that they would be able to pinpoint if they were somewhat related. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. He probably would have left a signature.
Yeah, something. So the media made him bigger. You know, he was on the front page headlines. They were doing daily updates. You know, he wasn't just an unaliver, he was a character. And that also brings me back to, you know, he's got this hood now and he's got this
Exactly.
costume.
Which is kind of dangerous.
Right. So do you think if this happened today with social media, he'd be even worse?
Yeah, I believe he would, because he'll have that coverage he want, but the coverage will be like kind of like immediate, so he'll have it like live.
I think he'll be laughing even more too, because with social media, you got, you know, hundreds of thousands of people sitting here pointing fingers and You know, the we're all detectives, so we all know who it is or who it's going to be, or who did what and whatnot. So I think he's probably going to be sitting there laughing because everybody's going to be thinking it's 100 different, it's going 100 different ways.
Exactly.
So we're going to profile him a little bit deeper here. He needed control. He needed recognition, superiority, and that intellectual dominance.
Pretty much loving puzzles and loved mind games.
I feel like this wasn't about rage. It was strictly about, power. And the scariest part is he blended in. He could have been, a neighbor, a coworker, a teacher, a family man.
And that's what keeps this case alive, because we're all wondering.
Right. So imagine that you're living in San Francisco in 1969. Okay. You're a parent and you're hearing about bus explosion threats. Okay. Or, you're a teenager and you can't park with your boyfriend without, being afraid. Or you're a cab driver and every passenger could be your last. Fear changed the entire city.
And fear was the weapon. That's what he wanted.
The murders were just, the method. And there's silence now. Because somewhere this person lived a normal life. Maybe they had children, or maybe they watched the news coverage with his family. Maybe he smiled, and I'm pretty sure that he was sitting back laughing at everybody. But that's what's sinister. So tonight we talked about ego. We talked about fear. We talked about a man who needed the world to see him. But what makes cases like this heavy isn't the killer. It's the victims. David, Betty Lou, Darlene, Cecilia, Paul. They were all real people. They all had real lives.
And while he may have hidden behind a symbol, we won't forget their names.
If you made it through this episode with us, we want to thank you. We know these aren't easy conversations, but they do matter.
And we'll see you next time
For Sinister Sunday. Until then,
stay
stay
unfiltered.
unfiltered.